Kevin, I sure appreciate the invite, and I feel terrible that Stephanie and I couldn't make it this time of the year, but unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. I sincerely hope that we can make it work in the future, but with the help of my wife Stephanie and one of my longtime loyal assistants, Adam, we went ahead and put this video together for you, for everybody who attends the clinic. And my topic is blocker mover offense. And I want to start off with why blocker mover for us. I coached and was fortunate to coach in two different states, Ohio and Indiana. I played high school basketball in Indiana and college basketball in the state of Indiana and coached there for several years. And then my wife and I moved to Northwest Ohio, and we are still currently living there. We currently reside in the beautiful Bowling Green, Ohio, home of the Bowling Green State University Falcons, here in the probably the most beautiful part of the Rust Belt. But why a blocker mover for us? Blocker mover was a great fit for us. Early on in my career, I had Adam Rembarger, who was a tremendous shooter. I'm talking about as a head coach, not as a junior high coach or a freshman or a junior varsity coach. My first head coaching job, I had a young lad named Adam Rembarger, and had a very good point guard, Blake Cruz. Outside of that, I had some really good role players, and it was a great fit for us, assigning three blockers and allowing Blake and Adam Rembarger to be our movers. And it was a great learning experience for me, having watched Coach Dick Bennett have a lot of success when he was at UWGB, along with his son Tony and their point guard Gary Graish. But it was a great fit for us. The simplicity of blocker mover, I think, is a huge aspect of why one staff would want to coach it. It's not overly complicated, but as Coach Knight used to say, a mechanic doesn't think an engine's complicated. But people like me, I'm a gym teacher. I certainly think a vehicle engine is very complicated. So it is something that is easily broken down into parts, and it's easily drillable. And it also allows, point number 3 for me, it allowed me to teach what I was good at, teaching cutting and screening, and which I think are fine arts. But it definitely put me in a situation early on in my career where I was going to be able to teach something that I was good at from my high school coach, Coach Steve Platt, at Huntington College. Number 4, players liked the combination of structure, clearly defined rules, and lastly, creativity, being able to be creative while they play. Structure for me was always really important, as was the clearly defining of rules for players. But the players, especially as they age in this offense or age at the high school or varsity level, moving on from 8th grade to freshman, for example, or junior varsity to varsity, players learn how to be creative in this system. And I had some really interesting conversations this past week with some of my favorite players who had played for me in the past in both states. And they all mentioned the word creativity. They also all mentioned the word structure, and they also mentioned breakdown. They thought the breakdown drills were an integral part of them learning how this offense flows. Lastly, for us, it stretches the court vertically and horizontally, which I think makes really well coached defensive teams pay for playing fundamental man-to-man defense. For example, if they hug the midline, that allows us to stretch the floor horizontally. If they don't hug the midline and they're more such of a eight-off rup type of defense where they're guarding their man regardless of where the ball is located on the floor, it allows us to stretch the floor vertically. Influences for me at a young age, I was a head coach at, I believe, 24, 25. So influences were very important, even though I played for a Hall of Fame basketball coach in high school and in Huntington College, and Steve Platt, my high school coach, was Dwayne Kiesling. Influences for the mover blocker offense were vastly important. Dick Bennett obviously motivated me, even though I've never met Coach Bennett in person. We've talked on the phone and corresponded via email, and also have written each other a few times. But Coach Bennett was able to simplify things for me in such a way better than anybody else. In his tactics and his views on setting or establishing rules had a great deal to do with me learning how this offense flows. Don Meyer, the legendary Don Meyer, God, do we miss him? What a great human being. But Don Meyer, I saw his videotape. I believe it was named Building Your Motion Offense from Scratch, which was basically blocker mover. And I followed Coach Bennett and Coach Meyer on the clinic trails, even into my 40s, more so than I probably did anybody else. But Don Meyer's ability to teach motion offense and simplify it, I thought, was outstanding. Thirdly, Coach Knight from IU and Texas Tech, and we got to start at Army. Coach Knight had a huge impact on my coaching career as I grew up in Indiana playing high school basketball. And the thing I took away from Coach Knight was the importance of how to cut, teaching kids how to cut the right way. And he was also a tremendous teacher of screening, but I absorbed the things he taught, especially thinking back to Steve Alford and Calbert Cheney, how he taught the art of cutting without the basketball. Paul Patterson at Taylor University in Upland, Indiana, who's now retired, we had to guard his lane and wide blocker mover offense when I was in college, and it fascinated me mainly because I was in an ice bath the next day. I'd never experienced as many screens, guarding that many screens as I had as a player until we played Coach Patterson's Taylor University team. I learned more playing against his players on a topic I'll talk about here in a minute called offensive chatter, which is vastly important to me and Adam as well. That was a huge impact, a huge defining moment in my pre-coaching career. Donnie Campbell from Kansas, a high school coach who most certainly has not got the recognition he deserves nationwide. But if anybody out there is looking how to teach five-man motion, getting five players to talk and screen and read with no person or persons being specifically designed to be cutters and screeners, you're not going to find anybody better than Donnie Campbell. Donnie's retired now, but he was the longtime boys basketball coach at Blue Valley West High School in Kansas. Mike McBride at Holy Cross College in South Bend, Indiana, is a fantastic teacher of motion offense and does a fantastic job of defining rules and teaching kids how to screen and cut away from the basketball. Brooks Miller at Trine University was on Coach Knight's staff at Texas Tech. And Lord knows I've spent a lot of time sitting across Brooks's desk picking his brain. And then Eric Thompson at Peru High School in Indiana learned from the great Jack Edison, who in my contention is the best high school basketball coach to ever live. And coach is still alive, thank God. But I've stolen so much of Coach Edison's things through Eric. And in Eric's own right, Eric Thompson, it never ceases to amaze me how Eric wins in that part of the state of Indiana. And you look at some of the teams Peru beats, the Kokomos, the Marians, the Logan Sports, and he goes against more with less nightly. And I can't remember Eric having a losing season at Peru. But absolutely outstanding teacher of mover blocker offense. Terminology. Mover are the players who we want hunting the shot, who we want hunting the ball. Blockers are screeners. Offensive chatter. This is something that alluded to a little bit ago, offensive chatter to me is we wanted our kids to have a solid conversation on offense. And I knew when our kids got it and picked up on it, we spoke together more on offense than we did on defense. We wanted our kids to have a conversation on offense. We wanted our blockers directing our movers. We wanted our number one mover hearing from blockers on what they wanted, where they saw his chaser, how that chaser, the person guarding him, was defending him. And we wanted hard calls on what they wanted that kid to do to get the basketball. What part of the floor were they going to get him open on? We wanted our point guard being directed as to where to take the basketball, take the thing to the action. So offensive chatter is something that's not the easiest thing in the world to get high school kids to do. But I'm here to tell you, once they pick that up, there's few things more gratifying in coaching basketball at the high school level to when you have a group of young men who start to offensive chatter using specific lingo, direct communication. It's a beautiful thing. Pro spots. The pro spots for us are the high elbows extended. And we like to reverse the basketball from the pro spots versus true north or the top of the key. Reason being, and I got this from Mike Dunlap at the clinic back in the 90s. Mike Dunlap taught us at a clinic that the ball to the wing here is about 6 feet shorter than the ball to the wing from here. It shortens the passing line, or the passing lane. We ran with that and stole it and named these the pro spots. But when you hear me talk about our blocker mover methodology, these are pro spots. DOS. Down, opposite, same. Whenever a player catches the basketball in the blocker mover offense, we want that player to look down at the block, down at the rim. His next look, since he's looked down, when he looks down, is the lane jammed? Are we crammed? Is the defense crammed in here and packing it up so hard we can't throw it to the post? Then we want to look opposite. Hence, stretching the floor horizontally, down, opposite, and lastly, same. Down, opposite, same. And that's a lingo our kids pick up on. And we have a lot of drills in which we call DOS drills, down, opposite, same. And it's something that we thought we found a lot of value in taking teams. And I guess I never said this at the beginning. I've always been a rebuilder in my career. I've not taken it over a program where one of the Board of Education members or an administrator who hired me or a coach in the area said, man, you guys are going to be great this year. You're going to be really good. Never had that. So when you take over a program, any little things you can use, 1, 2, 3 syllable cliches, seem to stick with kids. Down, opposite, same was a huge one for us. Circle away. What that means is the ball's here. We want the screener or the blocker on this side of the floor to circle away and screen in for the nearest mover on the opposite side. So that's a screen, circle away screen. And the kids just call out, again, with offensive chatter, circle away. Fist up. Ball's been passed to the wing. Defense is guarding on the top hip, so we hammer the thing baseline. We just call that a fist up. A fist up, more often than not, leads to either a shot here, a three-point shot in the corner, which I like because we have our biggest player here in offensive rebounding position, but oftentimes it leads to what we call a free cut. So two's driven the thing out of bounds, four wasn't open, 5, 3. So two fires the thing here to one, and now he's got double on one side, single on the other, and one's going to take the ball to the action no matter what side he chooses. So that's a fist up. Elbow low post. ELP. Elbow low post. So on the same lines as the fist up, the elbow low post, we're being played bottom hip on the wing. And this could be anybody here. This is a great way to get a guard isolation on the post up. We drive it at the elbow. We got a flare here. 5 is going to ram into his man and show the fist, 2 fists above his head, calling for a screen. And he's going to keep grab walking him into the midline until he cannot hear the basketball being dribbled anymore. And once he can't hear that, he leg whips his man, gets him on his back. We step across on the jump stop and bounce pass it down to the blocks. And that's what we refer to as an elbow low post. A kickback, screen, rescreen. Typically for our best shooter, let's say it's 5. Could be anybody down here. Doesn't matter if it's a post or a guard. Here comes the back screen, shape up. As soon as 2 gets below 5 and 5 cannot see 2, and 5 slips to the basket, just your classic screen and rescreen, and we call that a kickback. And we abbreviate that in the PDF that you're getting, the Google slide, as a KBK, kickback. Shortcut. And this terminology is in essence to save some time here once we start showing the different alignments of what we use. The shortcut for lane, blocker mover, where the reversers are coming up the lane. One of the common defensive tactics here is to get on top of them and not let them get up there, and we shortcut that. We even angle that shortcut out a little bit so we can catch it, rip through, and drive. But that's what we refer to as a shortcut in the lane system. High post back door. Ball's fed here. Back door here. The most important thing with the high post back door, and I know I'm telling you guys an ice cube's cold, but the most important thing with the high post back door action is what are you doing to occupy the defense on the weak side of the floor. Dribble action, very effective versus high pressure defenses. So you can't pass it to him, dribble at him. You can loop up. I really like this action where they loop in and then post. Dribble at. And that's, again, another staple of offensive chatter. Sweep. Sweep action's really good if you've got players who can drive the basketball effectively. Hammer the ball at that elbow. Toss back, dribble handoff. We got a kid who can drive it. We will add that into our blocker mover scheme. Guard circle. A lot of our blocker mover offenses begin with a 2-guard front. Guard circle versus pressure. Drive it right at his man. Reverse pivot. Now, what that allocates it allocates an entry pass, it kind of loosens things up. But what the guard circle sets the defense up for is what we call Frankie. And if you went to high school in the 80s, you remember a band named Frankie Goes to Holly's. And I can't remember which coach I played for who gave the player on the opposition, who was always out in the passing lane and trying to steal the ball and get slam dunks. But for whatever reason, he called them Frankies. And when I graduated, he told me because Frankie goes to Hollywood. But the guard circle set you up for a Frankie. So this kid, X3, we will put that player here purposely. This kid's jumping all over the place. He's out here. He's got his back facing the ball. Here we come. We empty out this side of the floor. And just a little back door there. But that's what we refer to as a Frankie. Piston action. Piston action. We like this. Selfishly speaking, I think this is one of the coolest things we ever did with any of our offenses. But the piston action, the ball's already been thrown to the wing, however you got it there. Let's say 5's here. 1 threw it to 3. Got 4. 2. They're going to circle away. So we've already got our horizontal stretch. 1 hits 3 and gets right there to that high post. And we want a ping pong pass. If that ball's in the air, we've got 5, setting this man up for a high-low. If 3 can't get it to 5, or I'm sorry, if 3 can't get it to 1, dribble up. As soon as 1 clears that high post, 5 is right on his tail. I mean, right there. Right on his tail. One's cut out here. If we can hit 5, we got a back door right there. If we hit 1, X5 is going to be here more often than not with his inside hand in the passing lane. And we leg whip and seal, and he just kind of grab walks down the lane. If the lane's jammed, then we throw it horizontally. But that's what we would call piston action. So if our point guard was driving the ball or bringing the ball off the floor and saw an opportunity, maybe X5's playing off here, but he thinks we can get the ball there to the high post. And he's piston. And we got a lot of miles out of that over the years. All right. Points of emphasis for us with our blocker mover: value each possession, shot selection, passing accuracy, rules, clearly defined rules. We like the aspect that with the blocker mover, we always felt like we had a very balanced transition defensive attack. We're going to talk about the types of screens we set very quickly in order to save time here when we start going over the nuts and bolts of things. Obviously, you got your down screen. That would be what we call a vertical screen. Basic down screen, we would call this a horizontal screen. We would call this a vertical screen because the cutter's coming up vertically. On the horizontal screen, we have our cutter coming off more horizontally. Now, with a horizontal screen, we would use that against a chaser who is piggybacking our cutter. We felt like allocating that tight curl with a horizontal screen was better. A vertical screen, where the screener's chest is facing the baseline for us, was a better move for vertical cuts. Getting pinned right there on that vertical cut. But no matter what kind of screen we're setting, we want our cutters to cut shoulder to hip off of the pick. Shoulder to hip. Not shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to hip. We want to get that inside shoulder into that screener's outside hip and bury it in there and pull ourselves through and show hands immediately off of that screen. We demanded that on a daily basis, no exceptions. We used to yell out the word sparks. Sparks. We want to see sparks coming off of that shoulder to hip action. Sparks. We use a lot of flare screens. We used a ton of back screens. Just standard back screens where we could also, through offensive chatter, turn that into a kickback. Circle away, we've talked about that. Circle away screen allocates us being able to stretch the floor horizontally against teams who do a great job of packing in on that midline. Cuts. Type of cuts, no matter what kind of cut you're going to make, it all starts with a great shape up. And we started practice a lot of times overemphasizing shape ups with our movers. The shape up is how you misdirect your chaser prior to accepting a screen. Calvert Cheney, Steve Offord were two of the best at shaping up before taking a screen. Run the other way, fast, slow, fast. Fast away to misdirect. Slow into the screen, shoulder to hip, so you can take a good read. How am I being chased? Your blocker is going to help you. He's going to talk to you. But it's also important for that mover to make a quick read while his body's moving a little bit slower and then fast off of that screen, showing hands. If it's not a fade or a curl, every cut needs to go to the ball or a pocket, I should say, or a pocket cut. But if it's a vertical cut or even a straight cut, you need to cut to the ball and catch the thing with your inside foot stretching. We used to say, meet the ball with your inside foot. That gives you an advantage against a more athletic player. Meet the ball with your inside foot. Reach with your inside foot to catch a ball before you get in boss position. Triple threat, we call it boss position. Pocket cut. Screens being set. If the cutter gets through here after a shape up and just kind of steps back right behind the screener. Just right there, a little pocket cut. And we use that a lot when we talked about, or when we used what Coach Tony Bennett runs a lot now at UVA. We call it circle action. But we use a lot of pocket cuts off of those top flare screens. Spartan cut. We took from Tom Izzo at Michigan State, hint Spartan, what he would do with Mateen Cleaves off the ball. That way, we called that a Spartan cut. Getaway cut. So what do you do when you've got a mover who's not an exceptionally good shooter? They can drive the thing. So you want him making catches on the perimeter. You want him keeping the defense honest, but maybe he's not a kid who you've said you've given the green light to shoot a lot of three-point shots. And I've had several of them in my career, Sean McGovern being my favorite. Sean could take the ball off the bounce and score over 50, or make over 50% of his field goal attempts. He could drive effectively, great shot fake, but him catching the ball behind the three-point arc and catching and shooting was not his thing. So a getaway cut. You've got your blocker. And here comes usually for us, it was our three-man. Well, Sean knows if he makes a vertical cut or a big curl and he catches it here, especially after the ball's been thrown to the wing one time. We haven't got any reversals. He's not probably going to have an opportunity to drive the thing because the ball hasn't been reversed and the defense hasn't had to change sides of the floor or rotate. So he gets into that screen and he turns and hightails the other way and he gets away, hence getaway cut, gets away from the ball where he can screen for another mover. And now that allocates him catching the basketball here in a position to do what he's good at. And we just simply called that a getaway cut. And again, getaway cuts were vital for us, especially in short clock situations where we knew Sean could score for us, but we didn't necessarily need 3 points. You know, we had to make the defense move a little bit before we could get Sean the ball. So that for us was a getaway cut. Okay, alignments. These are the things we taught the offense. Primarily the same principles. And that's another reason I'm a huge advocate of blocker mover offense, because no matter what alignment you employ or what strategy you employ, the principles are still the same. Lane for us, we ran this for years. I like lane because it allocates a lot of free cuts and it allocates a lot of circle away action and it allocates a lot of backdoor action. So lane for us, our 5 and our 4 were typically our blockers. They are our primary reversers. We're going to get the ball to them in pro spots and let the other 3 players play. Whether you've got 3 movers on the perimeter or a perimeter or a free blocker, hence perimeter blocker and 2 movers, or maybe you've got 2 perimeter free blockers and 1 outstanding shooter. So just some examples of how the action would take place in lane. And again, it doesn't matter how you've gotten the ball to the wing. 2's got the ball. You've got 5. 1 threw the ball to 2. 4. 3. Strong side action. 5's got 2 seconds to post, and then he's got to go. He's got to get up here for reversal. After 1 threw the ball to 2, he's got a number of things he can do. He can cut into the short corner. He can come over here with 4 and help force up the circle away, a double circle away. He can cut to the strong side corner. But we know in lane that the first look for us to reverse the basketball is 5. 5 cuts up to the pro spot. Say 1 chose to go down here to the short corner. As the ball is in the air to 5, you've got 4, 3, and 1. And let's say our point guard is a hell of a shooter. 5 catches, the ball's in the air to 5. The offensive chatter has started, and now we know how we're going to screen for 1. 4 is the blocker on this side, and a 4 starts calling out set 2, set 2, set 2. He's telling 3 that we're going to set 2 screens for 1. He knows if 4 jumps in to 1 space, it's going to be a double screen. On the set 2 call, if 4 gets behind 3, he knows it's going to be 3 knows it's going to be a stagger, as does 1. Because of 1, as he shapes up coming off that stagger, the odds of 4 switching out on that are slim at best. 5 hits, say here, 1. After 4 screens, he's showing to the ball. After 3 screens, he's going to look up now and see where in the heck can I go to be beneficial to this team. Ball's caught here, and he can slide back down here to One was he can go to the above the service line of the volleyball court. We never want him in the dead corner. But he's going to fill a spot. One's got the ball. 5, 2. Here comes a hammer. I mean, this guy at 5 is going to. He's watching 2 shape up, and he is going to nail him. X2, 3, 4. One's looking opposite. He's down at 4. 4 is fighting his butt off to get the ball in here. The blocks. 2 can fade that. He can curl it. He can pocket cut it. Got down, opposite, and then same. On that same action, one might penetrate here to the elbow and 3 lips. He might be able to zip the ball to 3. Now we've got a ball side triangle. And we can circle away on this side. But that gives you an idea of how we operated in lane. One of our staples in both Indiana and in Ohio was make the defense play longer than they're willing to play defense. Play offense longer than the defense is going to play defense. Wide. So we've got 2 blockers, our bigger players, our post players, who we don't want handling the ball in the pro spots. We don't want them up there. So our next point of attack was wide. Here's your typical high school volleyball. 4, 5, that's where they're going to line up. 4 and 5 should not, unless something crazy happens, be responsible for reversing the basketball in wide. More often than not, this was a 1 guard front. We might have entered the ball or entered the offense as a 2 guard front, but once flow was attained, more often than not, we were in a 3 guard perimeter. You've got 2 posts who are responsible for screening. Ball on the wing, strong side post up like heck, circle away on the weak side. 1, you can basket cut. You can help screen in here, help circle away. You can screen away from 2. We really didn't like that because it got switched a lot. You can cut through to the strong side, and there's your ball side triangle. If he does cut through to the strong side, we know now 4's got to hammer in and down to get 2 up there for reversal. In that scenario, if 1 did go to the ball side corner, 3, 2, 4. We can't throw it into 5. We get to 2. There's a great baseline screen. 5 now can come up and pin in the passer. And, we get the ball to 1 on the other side of the floor. The options are sort of innumerable into what can happen with this stuff because it's not a pattern and you've got kids playing their roles. But one of the things I really liked about this stuff, amongst many, was a lot of times we would be on the bench not knowing what was going to happen next, but we would see something happen that we loved. And we could break that down in films the next day. And most kids want to do what pleases their coaches. And they would just strive to keep doing those things, and then we'd find something else new. And if you find a kid who doesn't like positive affirmation, I'd like to meet him. I don't think they exist. I think you'd have better luck finding a uniform. Next, that's our white. And also, you have video clips of all of these different alignments included on the Google slide that I sent Kevin. Pairs. Pairs is great versus switching. I know Coach Bennett called this, as did Coach Knight, permanent point guard. We called it pairs because we wanted a post. Not necessarily our point guard, but a guard who's good enough to A, distribute the ball, obviously, 2, put the ball on the deck and score, and 3, make open shots. So we got big out, now we've got a big down, blocker down. That's primarily how we would start with pairs. Down screen here. Whatever the read is, your back screen here. More often than not, with a 5, that would be a kickback. But the ball eventually, quickly gets to the wing. And with pairs now, the team who switches is really going to be put in a bind in regards to mismatches. So the ball's been thrown to the wing. 2, 5, 1 is going to step ball side to the top volleyball line. You got your circle away here. Down, opposite, same. Down, opposite, same. If 2 cannot throw it here the same, then we know he's going to elbow low post, fist up. So the wheel just kind of keeps turning. The ball gets back up here to 1. As the ball's in the air from 2, we got a nice back screen here. We've got 4 and 3 working together, and we just keep working in that fashion of 2 players staying on their side, and again, primarily against teams who switch. Did we ever let the guards cross? Yeah, back in the 90s in Indiana, I did. The kids grew up playing basketball, and they had a really good idea of what they were doing. There was a lot less teaching of this stuff involved because a lot of those kids ran motion in middle school. But more recently, not so much. We were more comfortable with them staying on their sides. And again, this is something that we knew we couldn't execute 4 straight possessions down the floor. But it's a good switch up to run a couple times against a team who switches. So my point in saying that it wasn't something that we spent an inordinate amount of time strictly just working on pairs. Because all the other things have been taught, shape-ups, cutting, screening, so this isn't something that we taught on day 1. Adam, I don't think we taught pairs till our 3rd year. So that's pairs. And, the other thing with high school kids, they like simple. You call out pairs, and they like that. There's not a lot of thinking involved. Triangle. Coach Knight, Coach Bennett, I believe if my memory serves me correct, Coach Bennett called it green. Coach Knight just called it triangle. There's 2 different ways to run triangle. Just speaking of alignments, you've got your traditional triangle, and you've got your inverted triangle. Coach Knight was great with this traditional triangle. The inverted triangle, Coach Bennett at UVA does a tremendous job with the inverted triangle. He's ran some stuff using the inverted triangle that we stole right away and implemented, especially when I was at Maumee High School. I'd been there for a long time. The kids knew lane, they knew wide, they knew triangle. So if I came in on a Monday or a Sunday evening, this wasn't something that was going to be revolutionary to them. But we would take stuff that we saw UVA run and immediately input it to an inverted triangle. So your standard triangle, again, you've got 2 feeders, 1, 3 for us, and then your standard triangle you would have. I know Coach Knight like to start a shooter score here. And there's your standard triangle. As one's being dribbled down to the wing, 5 can come in and back screen. 2 can flare for him. But you've got 4 and 5 working on getting 2 open. And then you've also got a lot of action where you've got, for example, let's say 5 screened across for 4. And you've got 2 here. Screen down for 5. You might only do that to get a quick high-low with 4. I like it even better when you've got 2 screening for a big. And now you're screening down for your shooter. So again, this allocates a lot of creativity. Your feeders have to be able to put the ball on the deck and score or make open perimeter shots. But what do you run where they don't? So the kids again like the simplicity of this. They like the ability to be creative. I really liked, if we're going to play somebody huge, who's got 2 kids going to play Big Ten basketball, or like the Donnell boys, widen that triangle out. Widen that sucker out, get the ball to the edge of the triangles and drive and shot fake and drive. So there's a lot of things you can do with that. The triangle stuff that not only we like, but the kids loved it. The inverted triangle, we ran a lot my last year's of Maumee. You've got your feeders. And then you've got your inverted triangle. One drives it here to the wing. And again, you're talking about things that all facilitate back to offensive chatter. You might have a double screen here for your best shooter, and now 4 slips. And now the next time down via offensive chatter, they set up like they're going to do the same thing, 2 back screens for 4. You get a nice little post feed. And then 2 comes off of 5. So with the rules of the triangle, you've got the diagonal. When the ball's on the wing, the other feeder's got to be diagonal. And again, not to the corner, but the service line of the volleyball court. So, I could stand here for hours and show you the gazillion different things the kids can do out of the triangle, and whether it's inverted or a standard triangle. We call it an IU triangle and a Virginia triangle. But everybody who's coaching at this level is creative enough. As long as you've taught the proper fundamentals of shaping up, cutting, and screening, again, it allocates for a lot of creativity. Last one is what we call spread. So we've got 4 returning starters who are sophomores, and 1 returning senior who was a JVer as a junior. We didn't, at that period of time, have the players to run lane. We didn't think. We didn't have the bulk, the muscle to run wide. So we sat around for quite some time, and what can we do to combine some of these things, to spread things out, still teach what we love teaching, still blocker mover, but spread things out and really oversimplify things because the one thing we could do is shoot it. That was the one thing we could do. We could put the thing in the hole. But again, we didn't want something where it was a pattern, and we didn't want something where it was so freelance it was going to make their brains explode. Because again, the sophomores and a senior who was on the JV is a junior. So, okay, what if I just water this thing down to where we have guidelines to equate where the ball has been passed to? So a spread, we got the pro spots filled. We got the wings filled. And like anything, who's our best shooter? For us, 2 was typically our best shooter. 5. And I love Chase to death. I'd take a bullet for him, not in the head. But I love Chase Stickley. He was our 5 that year. And 5 was Chase was one of the few post players who made it known I do not want the ball. A lot, anyway. Great offensive rebounder. But as far as the ball being here and him down there, he really didn't have a lot of interest in getting the ball there. But could he set a screen? For love of St. Christopher, yes, he could set a screen. So we put Chase on the left side and left this spot, or this block, open because we wanted our guards to attack their guards, and they were all right-handed. So guard-to-guard pass. And again, this is after you've ran an entry or whatever. I know you just can't bring the ball down and run it and make a guard-to-guard pass. But a guard-to-guard pass equals pairs. 4 and 1 are the 2 people now in this screening scenario. With time, Chase would come in here and make it and become a screening option as well. But we're on day 1 here teaching this. Pairs. Offensive chatter, who is the best shooter between 4 and 1? More often than not, it'd be 4. So he is going to screen for 1. Offensive chatter. We always want these 4 spots in the perimeter filled. 4 pops to the pro spot after he screened. And now we have that. Court balance has been achieved. While this is happening, 5 can flash in here. After a couple reps, first couple days, 2, 4, 5 days of preseason practice, guard-to-guard pass on pairs on Chase's side. Chase would come up and set a double flare. Maybe a double kickback here. But he's going to be active in that screening action. Guard to forward. We want the ball on the strong side block, and we want to circle away and stretch the floor vertically or horizontally on the weak side. If you've got a great post player or an average post player, you can get, you got your ball side triangle here. What we did is we had Chase lift, back screen, offensive chatter. This might be a kickback. Chase lifts to the basket, and that's a scenario where he would want the ball. It's an easy lay-in. He doesn't have somebody 6'8", 270 pounds leaning on him. He can make that lay-in off a slip. And that would be a guard-to-forward pass on the left side or the post side. Guard-to-forward pass on the opposite side, on the right side. We know Chase now is going to circle away. If one's a better shooter, 1 and 4 are going to replace. But we got this horizontal spread now on the weak side of the floor. We want this spot here filled. 3 is going to shape up and basket cut. And we want to get that ball down the block. What if this guy is not developed yet physically and cannot score on the person who's guarding him, or he gets jammed right here? They just lock him up and jam him. And he's going to still make that shape up cut, but then he's going to circle, he's going to pin, and the next guard's going to come through. He pops. Now we got court balance, but now we've got an opportunity to score on the block. If not, we've got the horizontal spread, circle away, and we just keep attacking and attacking and attacking in that fashion. So if 3 did indeed get to the block, and we can't get it to it, and the ball pressure is such that he can't fist up or elbow low post, and we hit 4 on all forward to guard passes, forward to guard, back screen. Here comes 2, and 90% of the time, these back screens here end up in a free cut. 2 happens to be our best shooter. Here comes 2. Of course, he's going to look for the ball there. 4 is bringing the ball to the action now. And there's your free cut scenario. So that's what we call spread. Spread did allocate a lot more driving opportunities off of things like sweeps, triple ats. But the kids we had that year with their youth, it was a great fit for us based upon their skill level, their physical strength and size. And we found that we very much enjoyed teaching that offense. The breakdown drills you can use for that are innumerable. I mean, you can make as many as you want. You're covering every screening scenario, every cutting scenario, probably imaginable. And we had a heck of a lot of fun coaching that. But that's our basic take on the things that we ran for a lot of years with the mover blocker offense. Adam and I are planning on making a video that's maybe a lot more intensive with players on the court in the future. But again, I didn't want to miss the opportunity of presenting something at the clinic that Kevin's hosting. I feel terrible that we can't make it, and I hope Kevin extends the invitation again in the near future. But I hope this gives you an idea of how we taught blocker mover and how much fun we had over the years teaching it. In our Google slide that we're presenting with this video, I know you'll see a lot of things that weren't covered on the Markerboard. My contact information is located on that Google slide. And now that I'm a civilian and not coaching, I hope that you reach out with questions or maybe just want to talk basketball. And there's only one person on the planet who hopes that you contact me worse than me, and that's my wife. Because for the first time in our 27 years of being married, I'm driving her nuts by being home. So I hope you reach out to me, and I hope you found this beneficial. Thanks again to Adam, and God bless. And don't be a stranger. If you have questions, please get a hold of me.